Good morning and welcome to our webinar today. So we will be discussing fast-acting pain relief in practice and what you can use and what the research shows. And to help us with this, we have Mieke Van Den Dreissche from Metagenics, and she is the Global Head of Science. So we are extremely lucky to have Mieke presenting to us today. For those of you who don't know, Metagenics is a global company, and in Belgium, where Mieke works from, even though she works globally, the products that are used there are often recommended by doctors, and there are different pockets all around the world where doctors use these formulas. So it's great that we can get some really good experience today on how we can use pain relief. So Mieke, if you just want to click to the next slide. So my name's Sarah Sharp and I work at NutriAdvanced, and as many of you will know, that we are now becoming Metagenics, and here is just a little bit about Metagenics. So Metagenics have been around for a long time, about 40 years, and we have partnered with them for well over 20 years. They are the #1 doctor recommended brand in the US, and again they have a slightly different system over there where doctors can recommend nutritional formulas. The products all similar to NutriAdvanced, they target that root cause, and we've got you that time to effect data, which hopefully we can show you some today. We're looking at bringing the next generation products to the market. So the benefits of being part of a global company like Metagenics, where they really look into the science, is that we get to look at the latest science and bring it to you guys. So keep watching as we bring in new formulas all the time. They've got world-class manufacturing facilities. We have all the same products that we always had for NutriAdvanced, but they're just getting a little bit of a makeover at the moment. So you can see the new packaging there. You may have already had some products that have come out to you with this packaging. We've got the same team here, so you get the same gold standard customer service. We've got the same nutrition team supporting and the same service across the company. We just get this access to this global scientific network that Mieke helps to organise and orchestrate. And just breaking news for you all, our new website is coming, or a new website domain. So we will be switching over from NutriAdvanced to metagenics.co.uk in July. So lots of news. I'm going to come back and talk about a few more things right at the end after Mieke has delivered her presentation. And I will now hand you over to Mieke. Thanks very much, Mieke.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for this nice introduction, and good morning everyone in the UK or maybe outside of the UK. So today I'd like to talk about about curcumin, about joints, about joint health, and a lot more. So I first of all want as objectives, I want you to understand the ingredients and the technology I will explain. Also understand the proposed mechanisms of action, because as you know, this has a different mechanism of action if we compare to drugs, for example. I will review the clinical evidence and go through some clinical trials with you, and then finally summarize. And also I'd like to give you some feedback on who should we prescribe this, or who can have a benefit from the products or these ingredients. So first of all, it's about comfort and mobility, but turmeric or curcuma longa, I'm sure that all of you know this product, this ingredient. It's, you know, the curcuma longa is a plant, and it's the rhizome that we are using, and this rhizome is rich in curcuminoids, which are the active compounds, the polyphenol compounds, and so they include the different curcuminoids. One is curcumin, you have dimethoxycurcumin, you have bis-dimethoxycurcumin, so a group of curcuminoids which are the active parts. So these are part of the ginger family, the Zingiberaceae family, and has several clinical effects. As you probably all know, you know that curcuma or turmeric, or there are different names that are used, or the curcuminoids, so the compounds in it have a very long traditional use and a traditional history in Ayurvedic medicine. So they have some analgesic effects, so they can reduce the pain. They have anti-arthritic effects, improve the function, the stiffness, and, for example, osteoarthritis. And you see all the publications and the references below. Anti-inflammatory effects, antioxidant, also rich antioxidants. And then there are additional conditions that are studied, such as the inflammatory bowel disease has been studied in animal models and some human data, but also some clinical data as an antidepressant, some clinical data as an anti-diabetic, also on cardiovascular markers. So it's an ingredient that can be used all around, I would say, and has a lot of, has been used for many years, especially in specific regions in the world. The other ingredients I'd like to talk about is Indian frankincense, so Boswellia serrata. Sorry, I think that's the name that you know better and that we all talk about, is Boswellia. Boswellia serrata is a tree, and so it's the oleogum resin that is rich in specific boswellic acids. And so there are several boswellic acids. So these are the bioactive compounds derived from the resin of the Boswellia serrata tree. And so it has also been used for a long time in traditional medicine, and mainly for anti-inflammatory properties. And like I said, there are several boswellic acids, and the one that is mentioned here, it's AGBA. It's the 3-O-acetyl-11 keto beta boswellic acid. So we talk about AGBA because it's too long and too difficult to pronounce and to explain that. So AGBA is the most prominent boswellic acid in the resin. So that's why we are often using like ingredients or extracts that are high, that have like a 10% in AGBA, because this is like the strong and the most potent boswellic acid of all the acids. It's part of the Burseraceae family. I don't know if that rings a bell or not. It grows in the mountain regions of India, North Africa, and the Middle East. So that's Boswellia serrata, or Boswellia extract is what we use. And as you probably know, the curcumin and the Boswellia or the boswellic acids, they are very low bioavailable. So if you take them, if you want to eat them, and they are often used, like curcumin is often used in the kitchen as a spice, herbal, can be for coloring or can be as a spice for some taste. Well, if you take just the original powder, I would say, then it will not do a lot. It will be only a very small part will be absorbed. So that's also one of the reasons why we always, when we come with a formulation, that and we need to have something that improves the bioavailability of curcumin, and the same for Boswellia. It's not very well absorbed, so we need technologies to improve bioavailability so that we don't need to take 10 grams, 12 grams, 15 grams of the curcumin powder to have a good absorption and to have a therapeutic effect. So there are several techniques to improve the bioavailability. And so one of them is we can add piperine. So that's one of the technologies. Piperine has also an effect on the livers, but that's one part. You have liposomes and phytosomes. You have cyclodextrine. So there are several technologies to improve the bioavailability. One of these is also another technology is a fenugreek matrix, which is a fiber matrix. And as you can see on the left, you have turmeric with the curcumin and turmeric oil, and then you have the Boswellia with the AGBA. If you put that into that fenugreek fiber matrix, then you can see on the second picture in the middle is like it's bound in that matrix, And then when you put that under GI conditions, then you will see that it will like swallow more. And what's the advantage of this technology is, in fact, is the following. And this is maybe an easy explanation or just in a picture, but it shows clearly the mucoadhesive nature of the galactomannans that are in that fenugreek matrix. And so on the left, you can see while taking this product, it will stick to the wall, and then it will stay longer there. So it gives more time for the curcumin and the boswellic acid to be liberated and to be absorbed. So, and otherwise, when peristaltism goes, it brings it further down. In this case, it will stick with that mucoadhesive nature, and the absorption will be, let's say, a little bit slower, but way longer and way better, so way more absorbed. So that's also a technology, that fenugreek matrix, that helps to improve the bioavailability. Another technology which is new and which is really great is we call that Rhuleave K technology. And what is different between the previous one and this one? So we start from the same ingredients. It's the turmeric rhizome extract, so from the curcuma longa plant. And on the other hand, it's the Indian frankincense, the gum raisin extract from the Boswellia serrata tree. So these two are combined together with some black sesame seed oil. And what is so special about this technology, and I really, really love this technology. Oh, sorry. So it's a speed technology. So the name says it already itself. It's speed, it goes fast. It's for an enhanced absorption, for a higher bioavailability, and it's a proprietary, it's a high-speed milling process. And so you put the two ingredients, the two extracts, you bring them together, and you have that milled high-speed milling process. And then you also will add the black sesame seed oil. And so what happens while having that high-speed milling process, it will micronize those two ingredients, the turmeric and the Boswellia, the boswellic acids, into very little droplets, so within that phospholipid-rich sesame oil carrier. So you should see that you put everything together, there's that high-speed milling process, and then you get like very, very tiny droplets, including the turmeric and the boswellic acid. And the fact that they are so tiny will help and will speed up the absorption, and will, of course, increase the bioavailability, and will also speed up the effect of the product. So what's so innovative? So why does it work so well? Like I said, these will be very tiny droplets, so micronized particles. They are only between 1 and 20 microns, and so they will have, the fact that they are so tiny is that they will have a greater surface area, and that will help the passage across the epithelial layer. So that will helps for having a faster absorption, and so also a faster effect. And the second part of that technology is that black sesame lipid matrix that will help to solubilize those bioactive curcuminoids and the AGBA from the boswellic acid. So the boswellic acid, so that black sesame again is like a double action. It's a dual action. One is those very tiny particles that will absorb very fast, and the second one is that black sesame matrix that will help the solubilization of it. So this is it's a speed technology, because it's all going very fast. And if you compare that to the fenugreek, it's slower. This is way faster. And so it's has been developed with a very specific combination, specific ratio, and also there has been a lot of testing done on the particle size of the extracts. So this is maybe a full slide, but I'd like to show you how what's the origin of this story, of the original story of this speed technology. So of course you had the two extracts, Boswellia and curcuma, that you want to mix in that sesame seed oil, which has been patented. And so you have then that mixture. You combine those ingredients, mixtures pass through a bead mill, that 4 times to have those very tiny particles. So that particle size is then between 1 and 20 micrometers, which is great, which will increase that specific surface area. So we will have like around between 900 square meter per kilograms and 3000 square meter per kilograms. And then we also know that there has been several oils that have been tested and blended. And so this one had the highest activity for the solubilization. And then, of course, the combination of everything, that increased surface that has, together with this sesame oil, has enhanced the activity of the Boswellia extract, the turmeric extract with that sesame. And on the right-hand side, which is, I think, in that table, which is very interesting, shows it's in animal data, but you can see on the right, completely on the right, is the perception inhibition in 6 hours. So what do we see? A control, of course, there's no inhibition in the first 6 hours. If we look at diclofenac, the effect is 86%. So let's say diclofenac, the drug, the medication, works really well. 86% will have an inhibition, for example, of pain within 6 hours. If we look at a curcuminoid composition, so only the curcuminoids with the turmeric oil, that would lead, like I already said, it's very low bioavailable, not really well absorbed. That brings us to 7%. If we have Boswellia extract, it's the AGBA, so the curcuminoids and the Boswellia, this is without any technology. So 7%, 41%. If you look at the sesame oil itself, it's 20%. If you look at the combination Boswellia and curcuminoids, we arrive at 50%. If number 7 is Boswellia, curcuminoid, and sesame oil in a specific ratio, we arrive at 64%. But if we take the Boswellia extract, the curcuminoids, the sesame oil in a specific ratio, but then with that milling process, where we have those very tiny micronized droplets with that specific surface area, there we see that we can go up to 96 or 97%. So I think this, even if it's animal data, it clearly shows the difference in absorption and the difference in effect as well, as a consequence of that improved bioavailability. And so to come to this great technology, several combinations have been done, and you see 8 of them here, but several different ratios and several things has been tested to come to the best combination to have this speed technology. So that's about the technology and the improved bioavailability. Now something more about the proposed mechanisms of actions. How does these ingredients work, and especially if we compare that with the medication? So these are usually COX-mediated inflammatory pathways, and I think this is something that you probably know or have seen before. So in the cell membranes, there are lots of, it's a lipid membrane, it's full of lipids, and these can be omega-6, omega-3 lipids. And so if there's some inflammatory stimuli, and with the enzyme phospholipase A2, there will be a release of arachidonic acid, and that arachidonic acid will then be metabolized into prostaglandins, thromboxanes, so eicosanoids, due to the COX-2 cyclooxygenase 2 enzyme or the COX-1 enzyme. And so finally, what we will get is some inflamed tissue, so that which is COX-2 mediated inflammation, where we have those symptoms like pain, heat, swelling, and redness. There's also some positive effect. There is COX-1 mediated gastric protection. So improvement or less gastric acid, an improved mucosal blood flow, and an improved release of mucus, so that will protect the stomach. And then we have an effect of COX-1 and COX-2 on the kidneys, so some mediated renal functions on vascular tone, blood flow, sodium and water excretion, and also some cardiovascular effects based on COX-1 vasoconstriction and platelet aggregation, and COX-2 mediated vasodilatation and inhibition of platelet aggregation. So some others as well, but these are like the main effects and the main consequences of those prostaglandins and those eicosanoids. If we look at the NSAIDs, so we have a look at what happens there. So if someone will take the non-steroid, non-selective anti-inflammatory drugs, so like ibuprofen, so these will block and inhibit the COX-1 or COX-2 or both COX enzymes. And so what happens then is, yeah, we will have less pain and less problems from inflammation, and then we also have, on the other hand, which was good, is that gastric protection. This will also be blocked, so there might be more GI bleeding or peptic ulcers. We also have issues in the kidneys that can lead to hypertension or renal injuries. The same for cardiovascular effects, some imbalance between the thromboxanes and the prostaglandins, and some cardiovascular injuries. So that's what the NSAIDs are doing. There's one exception, and that's acetaminophen, which is paracetamol, which also will work a little bit different. So that can be metabolized into para-aminophenol, which will cross the blood-brain barrier, and so will be metabolized in a molecule that is called AM404. And so AM404 can activate some specific receptors, the TRPV1 receptor and I'll come back on that. So that has the link with pain. It's a pain receptor, and the CB1, the cannabidiol 1 receptor. And so by going in this pathway, this can have an effect on analgesia. So we'll be reducing pain based on this arm, I would say. But on the other hand, we also have another pathway, which is where acetaminophen or paracetamol will be metabolized in something which is toxic. It's NAPQI, it's N-acetyl-P-benzoquinone imine. So that's a toxic metabolite, and usually this is detoxified normally into some harmless metabolites. But with an overuse of paracetamol, then we will see that this will, glutathione will become depleted. And so the NAPQI will accumulate. And so this will damage the liver cells. And so this will give us really some liver damage. And so that's then let's say the toxic pathway from acetaminophen. So here, this is another way where we see that paracetamol can have an effect on, has an analgesic effect. When we look now at the curcumin and the Boswellia, the boswellic acids, what's their mechanism of action, and how is this different from the NSAIDs? And so I'll come back on this same picture with the pathway starting from arachidonic acid or from the cell membrane. So, and there you also have the COX and COX-1 and COX-2, but in this case, there's also like a further upstream pathway where we need to put some attention, and that's NF-kappa B activation that will increase the expression of specific pro-inflammatory cytokines that can activate TNF-alpha and then will activate NF-kappa B again. So it's like a vicious circle that will activate or upregulate COX-2 enzymes. So that's what is also happening. But if we look now at what are curcumin and Boswellia, what will they do? well, they will have an effect on NF-kappa B activation, so they will block that. They can have, so there will be less expression of the pro-inflammatory cytokines, there will be less TNF-alpha. There's another way by activating PPAR-gamma, but that all will help to not block completely the COX-2, but modulate COX-2. And that will result in some decrease in the COX-2 mediated inflammation. So less pain, less heat, less swelling, and less redness. But on the other hand, it will also, because it has also curcumin and Boswellia also have an effect which leads to more anti-inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-10 will have a positive effects on COX-1. So it will keep the positive effects of the COX-1 mediated gastric protection. So it will lower the gastric acid and help to build and release some more mucus. So it's a milder approach. So when you look at the NSAIDs, they will block COX-1 or COX-2, and then it's completely done. This is a modulation because curcumin and boswellic acid will work on NF-kappa B. And so will create, instead of more pro-inflammatory cytokines, will have more anti-inflammatory cytokines. So it will also reduce the whole inflammation, but it will, at the other hand, keep the stomach in a good way. Another mechanism of action is through the TRP channels and nociception. So if you look at nerve fibers, and so for example, this is a nerve fiber that you can see in the middle here. So there are specific receptors there. So we call them the TRP, the transient receptor with potential channels. So for example, TRPV1, as you can see here, the TRPA1. So these are really key detectors, and they are transducers of those nociceptive stimuli. So if, for example, there is an injury or a stimuli because of heat or cold or whatever, or a specific irritant compound or whatever, so there will be some pro-inflammatory compounds that are released. And so they can activate or they can block or work on the TRPV1 or the TRPA1 receptor. So for example, there can be an influx of calcium. So there will be a release then of specific trophic factors. There might be an excitation and there might be pain. So that's something, so those receptors, TRPV1 and TRPA1, play also an important role on, for example, the pain that we will feel. And of course, it's a pain stimulus that will go through the spinal cord and to the brain. And it's only once that it gets into the stimulus, it gets into the brain, that you will feel the pain. So pain is something that is really based in our brain. If we could like cut off our head, we would not feel any pain in our body anymore. So it's when it arrives in the brain that we will feel the pain. So this is an example of arthritic joint pain. So you can see the two TRP receptors. So in orange you have the TRPV1, in green you have the TRPA1. And so what happens is you have some inflammation, joint pain. You see here all the pro-inflammatory cytokines or free radicals, the reactive oxygen species. And so they will activate, stimulate those channels. So there will be a calcium, a calcium and a sodium influx of those ions into the neurons, the sensory neurons, and this can then lead to a depolarization of the neurons. This will increase the excitability, and so there will be an action potential, and then this will transmit a pain signal to the brain. So, and then you will feel the pain. So again, it shows that those receptors, the TRPV1 and the TRPA1, also plays an important role in that pain perception and in having pain. So what can we do is, if we look here, we have a nociceptor neuron. You see that those TRP receptors are a little bit everywhere. They are at the peripheral terminals, they are at the cell bodies, they are at the central terminals. So we need to find, there needs to be something that, if we want to relieve the pain, well, that means that we need to play on those receptors, because they are just like, they bringing the, when they are activated, they're bringing the signal, the pain signal to the brain, and we will feel the pain. So we need to have something that can reduce that pain perception and that can minimize pain sensitivity while working on those specific pain receptors. And what we know is that curcumin will modulate the TRPA1 receptor, and so this will also it will activate, but it will desensitize the TRPA1 ion channel, where we will have some anti-nociceptive properties. So we'll go into the right direction to also reduce the pain. So it's not only the effect on NF-kappa B, it's also an effect on the TRP channels to reduce the pain. So these are a little bit the mechanisms of actions. It works not similar as a drug, but as we will see now, it's a different mechanism, or there are two different mechanisms of actions, but the results are really similar. So here is some clinical evidence from randomized controlled trials. And so the first one is, the first randomized controlled trial is on acute musculoskeletal discomfort. So there's a fast pain relief in exercise-induced acute musculoskeletal pain by this turmeric Boswellia formulation, and also with this speed tech technology. And so here, 232 healthy adults between 18 and 65 years old were studied with acute musculoskeletal pain, and so they were randomized, or they got a dose of Rhuleave K, 1000 milligrams, or they received a placebo. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So the pain was assessed every 30 minutes for 6 hours using a numerical rating scale. So this is looking at how is the pain perceived, some other scales as well. So the results were that the pain really effectively relieved. So there was a very fast relief and significantly more effective. If you can see the graphs on the right, the onset of analgesia, you see how fast it goes with the treatment compared to the placebo, which is improving a little bit, but that's only the placebo effect. So if we look at the perceived pain relief, so the first perceived pain relief was at 68 minutes, so it's a little bit more than an hour, and a real meaningful pain relief was at around 3 hours with Rhuleave K. 39% had already a perceived pain relief as early as 30 minutes, and 99% within 190 minutes. So which is fantastic. And these are great results, and it's also by using this speed technology, those tiny micronized droplets, that those nutrients are very fast absorbed and also work very, very fast. So 96% experienced the meaningful pain relief, or the mean total pain relief within 300, the mean total pain relief within 360 minutes. So in 6 hours, you see everything going down, it has been working for 6 hours, which is also very long. A second randomized controlled trial is also in patients with acute musculoskeletal discomfort. So here we have 88 healthy adults between 18 and 65 years old that were randomized to or acetaminophen, so paracetamol, 1000 milligrams per day, or to the Rhuleave K, to this combination with the speed technology, 1000 milligrams per day for 7 days. And so after the first dose, the pain levels were assessed every 30 minutes for 6 hours. Again, a little bit the same as what we just saw, using the numerical rating scale and some other scales. And then day 2 to 7, the assessment was done before taking the dose and 2 hours after the dose. And so these are the results. And I think these are amazing results because these are showing that the effect is very equivalent to paracetamol or acetaminophen. So it's an immediate effect, which we cannot always expect from dietary food supplements. So this is really great. It works really well, and it's as effective. So the Rhuleave K group felt the pain relief at around 60-minute mark and had a meaningful relief by around 2.5 hours. And the mean total pain relief after 6 hours was 53% within the Rhuleave K group and 55% within the acetaminophen group, which is completely the same. It's equivalent. The effect is really equivalent. So similar and significant improvements also were found at the end of the 6 days in both groups. So this really shows that it works as fast and as good as the drugs. A third randomized controlled trial was in women with menstrual cramps. So here, this was a trial in 60 women between 18 and 35 years old with menstrual cramps. So they were randomized to having a placebo or Rhuleave K, the 1000 milligrams, when their cramps reached the number 5 on the scale, a scale of 10 on cramps, on pain is like 0 is nothing and 10 is the worst possible. So as soon as they got to like a level 5, and when they were with their cramps above that level 5, then they were randomized to the placebo or to the Rhuleave K. So pain intensity and relief were assessed every 30 minutes for 6 hours. And so these are the results. And these were also really amazing results, fast and effective in managing menstrual cramps. So you can see on the graph, so over the 6 hours, the Rhuleave K group had really a highly significant relief in menstrual cramps compared to placebo. And the effect here was even faster than what we just saw. In the previous study, the effect was more around 60 minutes, so after 1 hour. For menstrual cramps, it really started to reduce the pain within 30 minutes. So very, very fast. And the mean total pain relief scores was 12.6 times better than the placebo group. So really helps in this category, or this is menstrual cramps, is a very good indication as well. So then the fourth randomized controlled trial is a lower dose study where, looking also if a lower dose could be helpful. So here, 40 healthy adults between 18 and 65 years old with acute musculoskeletal pain, lower upper back pain, shoulder neck pain, thigh pain, arm pain, joint pain. And so they were randomized to a dose of placebo or to the Rhuleave K, but then instead of 1000 milligrams, the 500 milligrams. And so pain intensity and relief were assessed again every 30 minutes for 6 hours. And quality of pain was also assessed by a validated, another validated pain questionnaire, the McGill pain questionnaire. And so primary results, the pain intensity reduced, as you can see in the table. So the numerical pain intensity over 6 hours. So you see the results in the first column for Rhuleave K and the second one for placebo. So there was a significant difference or a significant relief in pain at 36 minutes. You can see the 2.3 compared to 6.15. What we see is that it goes a little bit slower because you can see that it still keeps on a score of 6 until it's only starting later. So the double dose will act faster than here in this case with the lower dose. And secondary results, the quality of pain improved. So also in the lower dose, the quality of pain relief was significant in the sensory, in the affective domain, as well as the score of the McGill pain questionnaire. You see all the p-values are very low and are all between 0.05, so significantly a difference between placebo and giving this lower dose of Rhuleave K. So it's also effective. The quality of pain and the pain also improved. It's just that it will work a little bit slower, not as fast. So I think this is my last slide. So for whom is this? What are the clinical considerations? Well, there are several. It's for acute pain. If we look at, in the beginning, I was talking about the fenugreek matrix. That's for the chronic pain. That goes slower, that takes on longer. This is really when there's acute pain, soft tissue injury, for example, sprains and strains, musculoskeletal pain, a headache, period pain, acute pain flares, also delayed onset muscle soreness, dental pain, post-surgical could also be there. It could also be very helpful. So it's where whenever rapid pain relief is required. So it's for acute pain. I have pain now, so I'm going to take it. It will start working very fast, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and it will last for about around 6 hours. So it's really for the acute and not for the chronic pains. I gave a lecture last weekend in Paris to a huge group of French doctors, and I got some feedback from some that already prescribed it, with amazing feedback using it. It works really fast for period pain. They also used it in migraines. Some of them also used it for endometriosis. So I think the list is longer than what is mentioned here, but it's for acute pain. I have pain now and I want to take something, and I don't want a medication. I don't want the NSAIDs. I prefer to take this instead of the NSAIDs. Okay, this is my last slide. I'm sorry, this is the summary. Just, yeah. The Rhuleave K harnesses the power of turmeric and Boswellia, and with this, and uses this speed-tech micronization technology, and this is really to deliver that fast relief of pain that can be musculoskeletal discomfort, can be menstrual cramps. And so the clinical data really shows that the 1,000 milligrams a day works really faster than placebo. It will start working very fast in 30 minutes, and it relieves the discomfort for up to 6 hours. And I think that was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mieke. This is exactly what we get from Metagenics now, is we've got that great ingredient, curcumin, that is so universal at the moment, and then we take it and we can change it and we can put it with other ingredients like the piperine or the Rhuleave K. You know, we're getting that technology. Then we've got the research into the mechanisms, so we know how it's going to work, and then we get the clinical trials into this ingredient and how it actually works in a placebo-controlled environment. And like Mieke said, you know, she's getting some great feedback. We already, after only launching this ingredient in the UK for about a month, we're already hearing a lot of really fantastic anecdotal data. And even just now, I've just checked our Facebook practitioner group, and there's a comment in there talking about how this ingredient works really quickly and actually has, you know, performed better for this one person than the over-the-counter medication that they were previously taking. So thank you so much, Mieke. I can see there's lots of questions coming in. Just whilst everybody writes questions, I'm just going to give you some news about Nutri. So as I mentioned, we are becoming Metagenics, and for some, like, you know, I've worked at Nutri for 23 years now from this March, which is a nice long time. Is it the end of an era, or is it the joining of forces? You know, since we first got our ultra meal and we're working with Jeff Bland, I've been going, as long as I've worked at Nutri, I've been communicating with Metagenics, attending sales meetings over in America, and we really have had that strength of the relationship over the years. And then we have been selling Metagenics products exclusively for a long time too. And then now I've just got a few slides that will show you what this new Metagenics means. So Mieke, if you could just forward the slide for me. Sorry. So we are changing, and metagenics.co.uk is on its way. We'd like to welcome you all to the Metagenics family. I think for you guys, you probably won't notice a huge difference apart from in maybe the way things look. You're still going to get that level of service that you're used to, and we still have a great range of products. You'll notice that we've got about a third of our products have changed into the Metagenics labels, and we'll still be moving forward. We've still got big ranges like the Mega Mag to come. They've not changed yet, but everything's going to be changing over this year. They're the same products, and they're just getting a new package or a new look. You get the same service as I mentioned earlier. And then I've just put this in because I think this really resonated with me through this whole transition, is that with great power comes great science. And this is something that we now get to look at the world of Metagenics and learn, from our partners in America, in Europe, in Australia. Look at the way that they're using formulas, look at the ingredients that they're using, and then rather selfishly we get to cherry pick which formulas we can bring and introduce to you guys. So it's been really fabulous couple of years for us behind the scenes, and then now we're getting to the action side. So like I say, for you guys, business as usual. It shouldn't really affect, you can still order online, you can still order the same product, it might have a different look or a different name, but it really shouldn't affect your day-to-day use of the products. So I have now just an example. So Ultra Pro Bioplex is now an Ultra Flora range. So we've got some information we can give you on those, looking at the whole range. We've introduced a few new formulas to that range, again cherry picking our way through the global sort of database of products. And so we have that great Ultra Flora look. The multis have all changed over into our multi essentials range. It's exactly the same formulas. And then we've got things like the Meta Active range. So looking at our curcumin formulas, they are all now coming under this Meta Active. And I think the curcumin forte officially changed last week into Meta Active Forte. So if you're looking for it online, then you should still be able to use the old name to get you there, but it has actually just switched over. And then the next slide. So this is just saying that, again, we've got these brand new formulas coming in that we've managed to sort of get look at the feedback, look at the science. And I love that like I say, that 4-step approach, that it's not just getting an ingredient that you think is going to work quite well. It's really then backing that ingredient with the science and the technology behind that ingredient, and then backing the product with the science. So looking at that product as a whole and how that's performed, and then getting trusted results. So actually we're just looking at setting up a trial for endometriosis with a practitioner to try and see what kind of results that we can get with some of these ingredients. So there's lots happening there. And then I think I've just got 3 more slides for you to take you through some of our brand new formulas. So Meta Relax, we have tablets and sachets, and these have come to us from Europe. So in Belgium, this is actually a #1 doctor recommended formula, and it is very popular. They have Meta Relax night runs, they have it on buses and billboards, on adverts in Belgium. So this is a huge product, and like many of the huge products, it really works very quickly for the client, so they really feel a benefit. And with this product, we look at feeling a difference in about 3 days, so in about 3 sachets or about 3 doses of the tablets. you can really start to feel the benefit. And this is using magnesium glycerophosphate, so it's a step away from glycinate for us, but it's still a really effective formula. And actually the research onto the absorption shows that it's really fantastic. So it's very rapidly absorbed, and in this combination we get all that wealth of sort of the history of use in Europe that we can then look at how that's used for stress, for relaxation, and for tension and fatigue. So it's a really, really fantastic formula. And then the next slide is Ultraflora Complete. So this launched, I think it was last week. So this is a brand new one. This is our highest strength multi-strain, and you have multi-strain for multi-gain. So what we see with this formula is really giving you the maximum amount of strains that we can get into one capsule and have really impactful results. So it has 9 different strains and also a few vitamins and minerals in there, vitamins in there as well. It's got the vitamin D, B1 and B3. And of the strains that are in there, they are some of the most well-studied strains in the world. So we've got Lactobacillus rhamnosus, GG. They're all ID certified. They are all researched to show that they work in the way that we want them to work. They support multiple different areas. So we're looking at not only what's happening inside the gut and supporting the diversity of the microbiome, but we're also looking at what that means for the whole body. So immune, looking at energy, looking at skin, so lots and lots of different benefits. And the research on this one, it shows that it's going to release, and those active ingredients are then going to start working really quickly within about 30 minutes, and then it stays in the gut crucially for 24 hours, being active in the gut for 24 hours. So just one capsule daily will keep you topped up and keep you going. So that's the Ultraflora. And then of course we have Meta Active Rapid. This is our Rhuleave K formula, and this is just getting some really fantastic results already. We launched it, I think, a month ago, and this one is our rapid relief formula. So it sits in that Meta Active range, looking at helping people to feel comfort and live their daily lives physically. And yeah, we're seeing fantastic results. Feel the difference within about 30 minutes, as Mieke has pointed out, and then lasts for about 6 hours. Yeah, so you can get more information. If you're not on our Facebook page, then you can find us currently at NutriAdvanced Practitioner Group. But if not, if you're a bit slow, if you're watching this on repeat, then it might be on Metagenics Practitioner Group. So that will be changing over, I think, towards the end of April. You can get in touch at orders@nutriadvanced.co.uk or nutrition@nutriadvanced.co.uk, and you can follow us on social media, and we drop quite a lot of the new products and details on there as well. So now if we go to questions, so we have had lots and lots of questions come in. So Mieke, I am going to see if we can just pop these out. Here we go. So we had one, I think you may have answered this, it came in quite early, but looking at implications for clients where NSAIDs have been contraindicated because of kidney disease, would something like the Rhuleave K then be okay to use? So you did go through that a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Because of the different mechanism of action, it will not block and inhibit, so it will have not the effect as the NSAIDs have on the kidneys. So yeah, yes.
That's fantastic.
Good question.
And one question that's come in is, are there any conditions where curcumin is unsuitable?
Yeah, that's also a very good question. So when there are some hepatic problems, or there has been some cases where if you use curcumin when there are some hepatic issues, then it's a contraindication. So if there are any liver issues, liver injuries, liver cirrhosis or whatever, then it's better not to use the curcumin. And for me, that's like the only one. That's also in some of the countries, that's also as a warning that needs to be on the package. I'm not sure for the UK, but that's, for me, that's like the contraindication.
Okay, and if somebody is taking medication, then we can double check that for you. So there are some medications that you just need to express caution with. So somebody's asking, is Rhuleave K safe for long-term use in chronic conditions?
Yes, that can absolutely be taken for a longer period, but the effects are more acute. So I think for the longer period, for chronic pain, for example, yeah, there's the other technology. I think the fenugreek there makes more sense for a chronic use. This is really more for acute pain, but you can continue to take it. There's no issue with that, but probably the other one will work better on the longer term.
Yeah, definitely. So would it be suitable for arthritic pain and stiffness first thing in the morning? And if so, when is best to take this time-wise? You know, should it be taken with food or without food as well? Sorry, that's just multiple questions in the same question.
No, that's fine. You can take it definitely in the morning. With food or without food, I would say it's always useful if you take some herbals that you take them with a little bit of food, with a light meal, for example, but that can also be the case at noontime. So it's not really specified, or it's not really to take important to take it in the morning, but I would suggest to take it not on an empty stomach, but I would take it with a light meal.
What I would say as well is just to share that in this circumstance, that sounds like it's a daily kind of pain that they're having.
Yeah.
One of the feedbacks that I've had in the last month has been somebody with a daily pain that was waking them in the night, and when they were taking the Rhuleave K, they then noticed that they weren't waking any longer. So they, you know, within a few days, they had reduced their inflammation enough as a whole. So it's also, you know, it's working very quickly for that pain, but also it was having an effect that they no longer were waking in the night. So it could be that after a few days that the pain in the morning may subside, and it becomes less important to take it at that minute. But also then, like Mieke was saying, with chronic conditions, you may choose to use the fenugreek formulation in the Forte. You know, this is really, you know, it's for the here and now, the rapid relief with the Rhuleave K.
Maybe I can add there. So maybe I can add that it's you take two at the same time. So the 1,000 milligrams is 2 capsules together, because that's the best effect. That gives the best effect, and it will start working in, like we have seen, in 30 minutes, 60 minutes. It will last like 6 hours. And then if really needed, and yeah, you can take that when you have pain. If you in the morning, you get up and you don't have pain, and maybe at lunchtime or around noontime, you get pain for, I don't know, because of, you have been doing something and you get some musculoskeletal pain, and then you can take it then. It will last for around 6 hours. And then afterwards, if after 6 hours, the pain starts over again, you could take like another 2 together to have another for having like 12 hours of relief. So that's also definitely a possibility. So 2 times 2 a day is absolutely possible. I wouldn't go more than that, but that's really good. So it's, you take 2 together, it lasts for 6 hours or maybe a little longer or so, and then later you take another 2. This is really for really heavy acute pain.
Definitely. And we do get a lot of questions on, can I take it for this? Can I take it for that? I think, like Mieke has said, anywhere that you're looking for rapid relief with pain, particularly muscles and joints we've talked about today, muscles including that cramping for female pain. But just before we came live, we were talking about nerve pain as well. So
Yeah.
that's another place that we would suggest, it's definitely worth the trying for that
Yeah.
kind of pain.
Yeah.
So another question that's come in here, someone recovering from an injury who has had surgery but is still in a lot of pain, how long can they continue to take the product?
Yeah, they can continue to take it a couple of weeks. That's not a problem at all. So like I said, you can continue to take it as long as you have the pain, as long as you really have that pain. But then you can, I would say after a couple of weeks, then it becomes chronic, and then you can switch to the Forte. That would be my suggestion. So the first days you can make after surgery, you could take like a higher dose if there's a lot of pain, and then you can go to that low, to the town. Maybe you start with 2 times 2 a day, like one in the morning, one after 6, 7, 8 hours again, and then you can go to 2 a day, and you can continue that a couple of days and a couple of weeks, and then you switch to the Forte if there's still pain and if the pain becomes more chronic.
Yeah. And also me and Mieke were also talking about SPMs afterwards as well. So where an injury like that becomes chronic, then you might want to introduce SPMs as an option to resolve the inflammation.
Yeah, and the combination is definitely also very interesting, because with the curcumin and the boswellic acid, you will mainly work on the COX, on modulating the COX and the consequences there. You're working on the inflammation part on the first phase. With the SPMs, you're working on the second phase, on the resolution phase. So it's complementary. With the first one, it's more the first part that will be, you will lower the pain and you lower the redness and all those inflammatory symptoms. And then with the SPMs, you will clean up the debris after the inflammation, and you will come back to homeostasis, and you will have that phase of resolution.
Yeah, absolutely. So someone's asked if you can take the product with blood thinner medication.
That's also a very good question. So, and what I'm saying there always for all curcumin products is, yes, you can. This is not a contraindication, taking blood thinners, but at least if you have them prescribed, I think after a while you should have like a test by your doctor that is done, that he will measure your blood coagulation and see if there needs to be, if the dose of the blood thinners needs to be adapted. But it's absolutely not the case that it's a contraindication. Curcumin can have a little effect on blood thinning, but it's not a massive effect. So most of the people combining that, they will not have any issue. They won't see any difference. But yeah, usually what we see is that if an MD prescribes the blood thinners and then knows that there is curcumin taking, so maybe after a couple of months they will do an INR test just to measure that coagulation, and that's all. But there's absolutely no contraindication.
Yeah, so if working in the UK and you're not working with doctors who can run those tests, you can always ask them to let their doctor know that they're taking this or that they're trying a new program. No. But that can be the same for if they're changing their diet. So I think look at how tightly controlled, how critical is it that they maintain, like that they stick with that. Sometimes it's less important, sometimes it's incredibly important. So there's a scale. There's a few questions coming about other medications, and what I'm going to say is, Lisa, with your query, there's a few different medications there, so maybe call in on the advice line and talk to someone about those specific medications. But it's a very common theme that people taking lots of medications, looking for pain relief, trying to move away from something that's terrible on the gut, that they might want to consider this, option. In this case, she's saying that she's broke her ankles, she's got rheumatoid arthritis, frequent pain, taking lots of pain medications, and then other medications in the background. So we can check all of those. I think epilepsy medication comes up, and a few other things that, again, you just need to have a little caution with. But it's, you can always ring in and check or use our safety checker. But I think, yeah, definitely that's a common scenario. And I'm sure, Mieke, you've heard feedback on that as well, trying to get people away from the damaging pain relief that they're reliant on.
Yes, absolutely. And indeed, it's every medication is different. So that's also why we prefer to do a check. But usually there's no real issue, or there's not curcuma, like Sarah, like you said. It's also, we can eat it. It's part of our diet. It's part of our food. So yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. But at least, yeah, with if it can be checked by the safety checker, because there are so many medications, so it's good to do that.
Yeah, and we can help if you're looking for other things as well, or looking at the wider picture. And lots of people also might be taking an omega-3 or that kind of thing, and the SPMs, that brings in the fatty acids. So it depends on if you're doing combinations as well. So I'd say that speaking to someone, one of the team, they'll be able to talk you through that. So I'm aware that we've gone just ever so slightly over. So another question that came in is about fascia type pain, which I know we haven't really covered, but definitely I've seen some information on fascia. Have you seen any of that, Mieke?
Not directly. I think you have seen something. We discussed this briefly, but I haven't seen that immediately. But
yeah, we've got some information that I've seen very briefly from myself from Australia, and I think we're hoping to share that with everybody. So it's on the sort of bear with us. We're getting it out there. Watch this space. And then the last question I'll take today is somebody saying that they missed the name of the product with fenugreek. So that one is the Forte. So in the Metaactive range, there'll be the Forte with the fenugreek. We've got the Flex, which is the old name for Chondrocare. We'll have Collagen Forte, which will be coming into that range, and then the brand new Metaactive Rapid as well. So there'll be, and the curcumin Megasorb. So there'll be Metaactive curcumin Megasorb, which is the one with the piperine from black pepper as well. So I'd say if you're looking at those three formulas, then you're really looking at like the piperine being a really good product, but then the fenugreek matrix is going to be better, and then I'd say the Rapid is best for rapid pain relief. That's how I sort of mentally kind of distinguish between them. So I'd just like to thank you all for your time today, and thanks, Mieke, for bringing us that really great synopsis on everything to do with curcumin and how we should be using it and how we can get the most out of Rhuleave K in practice. So thank you very much.
Thank you all.